Hello, this is Jay. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss which tent I'm thinking about bringing with me on the Appalachian Trail through hike in 2022. So hold on. On the PCT and Arizona Trail, I carried a camouflage duplex with me, and altogether with the stakes and everything came to about 23, 24 ounces. It actually got a little heavier over time because I kept putting more tape on it because it was leaking. And it's to the point where it just won't last in the rain at all. I don't trust it at all. So on the AT, I'd like to bring something lighter and smaller, something that packs much smaller so I could pack down my backpack better. Just the duplex, especially the camouflage version, it had a slightly thicker fabric on the top, so it was a little bulkier than the usual duplex. So I'm thinking of three options right now. One is the ZPacks Plexamid. One is the Gossamer Gear 1 DCF. And the last one is, I actually only learned about this maybe a week ago, is TarpTent makes an Aeon Lithium or Li. I don't know if they mean to call it lithium, I don't know. But so those are three options I've been looking at. They're all single person tents and they're all very light, lighter than even the duplex with the thinner wall, which is about 19 ounces. The Plexamid comes in at 15.3 ounces, which is the lightest, although I guess the Gossamer Gear 1 DCF is also 15.3 ounces, but the Plexamid is also the most expensive at $575. It's steep for a one person, considering the duplex is $649, so about $70 more. You can get a two person, although you get more bulk and then you get more weight as well, although just a little bit more weight. But it's the bulk and the weight that I'm trying to reduce right now. The Gossamer Gear 1 is 15.3 ounces, but without the stuff sack. So it's 15.6 ounces with the stuff sack, so a little bit more expensive. And I looked at that. I originally looked at the Gossamer Gear 1, the steel nylon version, but I know steel nylon kind of, if it rains a long time, it'll kind of absorb in and it'll expand. So it'll start drooping, and in a non-freestanding tent, I think that's not a good option because as it droops, it starts getting too loose, and if it's windy at all, it'll flap like crazy. So you gotta like get outside and retighten everything. Otherwise, it's just not gonna be a good pitch at all. It's really important on a non-freestanding tent to get a good tight pitch, especially if you're expecting any kind of wind at all. So I was happy that Gossamer Gear made the 1 and DCF, so I looked into it. And of course, the 1 and the DCF are not in stock at this time. I actually wrote them and they said the 1 will be in stock later this fall, but the DCF 1, they have no clue. They're designing a new version for it for this coming year, I guess. So that's kind of out. It's hard to decide, but the odds of it being in my hands by January when I get back home from Germany are, I think it's pretty slim. The Plexamid, I'm also thinking, I know ZPacks has Christmas sales, like Black Friday sales at the end of November, early December. Right now, they have a pretty good shipping time, which is, I guess, reasonable because it's the main hiking season's over. But once everyone starts ordering, it might be, because at times it took them over a month to make something and send it to you. And if I order for a Christmas sale, I don't want to be iffy of getting it in January and only have maybe a week or two with it before I ship out to head up down to Georgia. So I don't know, I've been mulling it over because I know they have the Christmas sales and $575 is pretty steep. So I'd love to get it on a sale, but we'll see. And then there's the Aeon Lithium. TarpTent made the notch, and I knew about that, and I knew about the Li version of the notch, and it was pretty light, but some people like the double wall construction. I'm kind of for it and against it. I mean, I did think it'd be cool to just set up the mesh and you could look at the stars and whatnot if it's not raining, but it's also, I don't know, it's not a lot of more work, but with two poles, it's more work than a tent with one pole. I mean, it's not a lot more work, but it kind of is. And with the Aeon Lithium, I was looking at it and it's actually pretty nice. It's just one pole. I don't like to have the trekking pole straps on the ground because mice will chew up your straps for the salt. So I prefer it up, and with the Aeon, you can have it up as well. So that's a good thing. And it has little carbon fiber struts on the ends and also in the far wall, and helps it maintain its structure. So it gives it a little more bulk as you fold it up. But I guess it gives it a little more weight as well, but it also gives it a little, it takes the floor and raises it straight up instead of going up at an angle right away. So it gives you a little bit more room, especially if you're on a sleeping pad. Because a lot of people, when they're showing the sizes of a tent on videos, they'll show a sleeping pad, but they'll lay down on a sleeping pad. But really, you got to get the sleeping bag or the quilt on top of them, because you're going to get about that much additional rise about around your feet. So with the sleeping pad and your feet, so sleeping pad, feet, and then a little quilt distance, and that's how far the top has to be clear. You need a few more inches there, otherwise you're going to be rubbing up on it. And any condensation you're going to get there, you're going to rub up on your feet, and you don't want that happening to your sleeping bag. So I really like the design of the Aeon, and they are also, I guess, the cheapest by a little bit, $535. The DCF1 is $539, although you can't get it. So, but the Aeon Lithium, I guess they have blemished versions for almost $70 off right now. I don't know how many they have, so if I want to buy it, I might have to buy it before this video comes out live Wednesday afternoon. I don't know, I've been just this close to leaning on just jumping in and purchasing it because it's such a better value than the Plexamid. Compared to the Plexamid, it's $115 less. It's a huge markdown, so it's really tempting. There's also another feature that I really liked about the Duplex that the Plexamid and the Aeon both have, but the DCF1 does not. The Duplex has all the walls will actually hit a little mesh. So the wall will be here, and there's a mesh at the end, and it's always tilted before the bathtub starts. So if there's any condensation, it'll run down the wall and drip out the mesh instead of just running down into the wall. Sometimes you'll even get condensation against the wall. So that little bit helps with that. And with the DCF1, or the Gossamer Gear one, on the far side away from the door, it's just the wall going straight into the floor. I looked at a lot of pictures and that seemed to be what it is. And it's quite a high wall, but the higher the wall, of course, the condensation is going to build up. More condensation will build up and it'll just pour into the wall or into the bathtub. Whereas the Aeon and the Plexamid have mesh borders separating the wall from the bathtub. So I think that's pretty important. I've never had so much condensation that it was just dripping down the walls. And I've hiked in a lot of wet terrain. Like we hiked around Mount Rainier and it rained for like 3 out of 5 days we were there. But it wasn't too bad even with 2 people in there. With the Plexamid and Aeon, that gap is all around. So that's good. With the DCF1, it seems to be on the front and back, but not on the side. So you get a little bit more room on the side. The big thing too, though, biggest thing is Aeon Lithium is pretty much a rectangle. It's 30 inches wide by 88 inches long, and it's not much. It's 76 centimeters wide, which is just enough room for your quilt, and probably lean into the mesh a little just to keep away from the wall. It's a tight squeeze. The Plexamid is wider. It's 38 inches at the shoulder, at the widest part, or at the middle, they say, and then 28 inches at the feet, at the narrowest part, or I guess at the both ends. But so that's a lot wider just in the middle area. So it gives you some room to have some gear. The Gossamer Gear 1, though, is more like a trapezoid. The widest part is 33 inches and the narrowest part is 21 inches, and 21 is quite narrow. My plan for this hike, I pretty much have my big 3 items, although not quite. I'm going to bring a ZPacks Arc Blast, and I'm going to have a ThermoWest Neo Air X Lite Small. I've always had the small. I use the small for most of the PCT actually, and I don't mind it. It only covers from maybe your neck. I use a pillow, and then the neck down to a little past your mid thigh, and then I usually put my backpack at the end and then just put my feet up on top of the backpack, and that usually works out fine. But if it's a 21-inch wide at the feet, it's it's really narrow. Might not be too much room for the backpack there. So I don't know. Still mulling it over. Very similar. Plexamid's been out and about longer. I guess they also have like a carbon fiber cross beam on the top, and someone told me that makes it harder to pack because they're kind of curved. I don't know if they stay curved. I have actually never seen a Plexamid in person. I haven't seen any of these tents in person actually. Maybe the Plexamid I saw on the PCT, but that was years ago with the older version. But yeah, which tent should I get? Do y'all want to discuss down below? Do any of you have one of these tents? What do you like most? What do you not like most? Have you used all three maybe even? If there's someone out there who has all three, that'd be great, but you know, getting their opinions. But that's like $1,500, $1,600 worth of tents. It's a little too crazy. And I thought about getting a Duplex again because it's 19 ounces if I get that lighter material. $650 though. It's tough spending that much on a tent I know I'll probably have to throw away after another year. They just don't last as long as you hope they would. They guarantee a full through hike, and who knows after that. But yeah, which tent should I get? I know a lot of people on the AT groups are asking the same question, but at least for me, I've narrowed it down to 3 tents. Mostly 2, considering the Gossamer gear versions aren't available, but tough choice right now. The cost is the big thing, because when you're watching this video, if you're watching it right when it comes out, basically in about 16 hours, 15 hours, 16 hours, Sony's releasing a new camera, and that's gonna take all my money. So I'll have to cut costs with the tent somehow. And I'm also, I don't know if I mentioned, I'm 5'6", so I'm not the tallest person, so I don't need the width to put all my gear like I have with the Duplex before. I could just stash it in my feet or the head because I'm not that tall. So yeah. So what tent are you all bringing with on the Appalachian Trail, or what tent did you use and were you happy with it? And to cut off anybody who's asking about hammocks, I just didn't want to get into a whole new ecosystem. I don't have any tent or hammock components, and I didn't want to have to buy an underquilt, get a good hammock, and a tarp for the top. I just, I don't know. I thought about it, but it's a whole new thing, and I don't want to start into a new thing where I know tenting very well now. So yeah, we'll see what I get. Maybe by the next video, I'll tell you what I purchased and tell you my decisions for everything. So like and subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.